the shadow geography, America's secret subterranean underworld right now. As you read or listened to these words, life is moving directly beneath your feet. But I am not talking about the mundane thrum of subways or the scheduled maintenance of utility workers. I am talking about a hidden geography, the spaces city planners forgot and the criminal underworld eagerly claimed. For decades, urban legends have whispered about the mole people, vast, organized armies of the forgotten, living in massive subterranean cities, waging secret turf wars beneath the major metropolises of the world. It's a compelling, terrifying myth, but the truth is much stranger. What if the real danger isn't a fictional mutant tribe, but a highly sophisticated, multi-million-dollar criminal apparatus that operates just inches below the concrete lawns of suburban America today? We lift the iron covers on the terrifying reality of America's secret subterranean networks. We are diving deep into the corporate super tunnels, engineered by international drug cartels. We will shadow the midnight scavenger rings risking agonizing deaths in New York City's toxic bowel systems. We will unearth the hand-dug highways linking suburban backyards. And finally, we will descend into the unmapped concrete abysses of Las Vegas, where cellular signals vanish, police radios go completely dead, and survival becomes entirely tribal. Welcome back to Creepy Tailies. Lock your doors, turn off the lights, and let's go under. Our first descent takes us to Otay Mesa, California, a dry, industrial border landscape heavily patrolled by U.S. Customs and Border Protection. To the naked eye, the warehouse district here is a monotony of freight trucks and struggling businesses. One of those businesses was a small, seemingly low-traffic retail shop operating under the name Buy 4 Less. Federal agents began monitoring this exact storefront. It was a ghost town for retail shoppers, yet high-end vehicles arrived at odd hours. Employees were spotted carrying heavy, empty suitcases back and forth across the border through standard checkpoints. Something was deeply wrong, but multiple surface raids of the building yielded absolutely nothing. No drugs, no weapons, just an empty back storage room. Then, Homeland Security investigations brought in advanced ground-penetrating radar. What they found shattered the limits of ordinary criminal engineering. Inside that empty storage room, investigators discovered a seam in the concrete. Hidden beneath a flawless overlay of flooring was a heavy-duty, industrially manufactured hydraulic floor lift. When triggered by a hidden switch, the entire section of the room dropped away, plunging a staggering 55 feet straight down into the absolute dark. At the bottom of this vertical shaft lay a tunnel stretching 1,933 feet long, nearly the length of 7 football fields, passing directly beneath the border wall and opening into a residential home in Tijuana, Mexico. This was not a crude dirt crawlspace dug with shovels. This was a corporate-funded engineering masterpiece attributed to the Jalisco New Generation Cartel, one of the most ruthless and wealthy syndicates on the planet. The infrastructure of this subterranean highway was shockingly advanced. The walls were heavily braced with custom timber and poured concrete to withstand the crushing weight of the earth. Massive flexible tubes pumped fresh oxygen from the surface, allowing workers to spend days underground without suffocating. A complex network of wiring powered industrial light fixtures stretching the entire third of a mile length. Most terrifying of all was a custom-laid steel rail track running along the floor, featuring a motorized cart designed to silently ferry cargo beneath the feet of unwitting Border Patrol agents. When federal agents finally raided the tunnel, they seized over a ton of pure cocaine, valued at a jaw-dropping $45 million. The cartels aren't just crossing the border. They have built a parallel, highly industrialized logistics network right beneath our feet, spending millions on engineering marvels that are completely invisible from the surface world. Move thousands of miles east to the historic streets of Brooklyn and Queens. For over a century, New York City has been the epicenter of mole people mythology. But a bizarre, real-world criminal trend has taken hold of the city's underbelly. one that has forced the New York Police Department's elite emergency service unit and the Department of Environmental Protection into high-stakes subterranean hide-and-seek. It started with a series of frantic midnight emergency calls from residents in Flatbush and Williamsburg. Security cameras began capturing identical, deeply unsettling footage. At 1 in the morning, a group of up to 8 men would pull up to an intersection in unmarked vehicles. They weren't wearing utility uniforms. Instead, they wore heavy, rubberized mud waders, tactical headlamps, and carried industrial crowbars and shovels. They would pry open a massive manhole cover, stash it between parked cars, and one by one, drop down into the pitch-black abyss, sealing the heavy iron cover behind them from the inside. They would remain in the bowels of the city for 3, 4, sometimes 5 hours at a time before emerging caked in foul-smelling sludge, throwing their gear into trunks and vanishing into the night. Initially, authorities feared the worst: terrorism, sabotage of the city's water infrastructure, or highly organized bank heist syndicates plotting a robbery from below. But when police finally caught up to a trio of these subterranean intruders, the true motive was laid bare. When cornered by officers, one of the men looked up and simply said, "The reason we went down there is that people lose their gold down there. We got to get it and sell it to make money." These are the sewer scavenger rings. They are highly organized, black market treasure hunters who have mapped out the city's ancient, century-old sewer junction boxes. They aren't looking for loose change. They are tracking the historical accumulation of sludge wealth. Every day for over 100 years, millions of people in a major metropolis accidentally flush or drop valuables down drains: diamond rings, heavy gold chains, antique coins, and scrap metals. Because gold and dense metals are incredibly heavy, they don't wash out to sea. Instead, they sink to the absolute bottom of the city's ancient sewer grates, burying themselves deep within decades of hardened human waste and toxic sludge. But doing this is a literal dance with death. The dangers these scavenger rings face are immense. First, there are lethal atmospheric pockets. Sewers are breeding grounds for hydrogen sulfide and methane gas. These gases are completely invisible and odorless. One wrong turn into an unventilated pipe can knock a scavenger unconscious in seconds, leaving them to drown in sewage. Then there are structural collapses. Many of New York's lower sewer lines are constructed of ancient, shifting brickwork from the 19th century, prone to sudden, catastrophic cave-ins. Finally, there is the threat of flash floods. A sudden, unexpected downpour on the surface can turn a waist-deep sewer crawlspace into a roaring, high-pressure torrent within minutes, sweeping anyone inside straight into water treatment grates. Yet, despite the threat of arrest for burglary and criminal mischief, these shadow rings continue to descend into the dark, proving that some will risk the literal bowels of hell if the payout in gold is high enough. You might think that if you avoid the borderlands or the ancient systems of New York City, you are safe from the subterranean underworld. But our next case takes us to a quiet, unsuspecting suburban neighborhood in Albuquerque, New Mexico. A few years ago, a peaceful residential block began to transform into a hotbed of unexplained criminal activity. Neighbors reported a sudden, terrifying spike in property crime. Mailboxes were systematically emptied across the entire street. Packages disappeared from porches within minutes of delivery, and car break-ins became a nightly occurrence. Strangers, shabby, transient, and aggressive, were filmed wandering the neighborhood at all hours, filtering into a single, newly rented suburban home. Local police were called to this single property a staggering 49 times in a single year. Yet, every time cruisers arrived, the suspects seemed to vanish into thin air. Police would surround the house, look through the windows, search the rooms, and find it completely empty, despite neighbors swearing they saw a dozen people enter just minutes prior. The mystery was finally solved when city code enforcement officers walked into the backyard to inspect a series of illegal trenches. What they uncovered left veteran police commanders utterly speechless. Hidden beneath the dirt of the backyard was a massive, elaborately engineered hand-dug tunnel network and underground bunker. This wasn't a temporary hole. It was a reinforced subterranean complex built with heavy wooden support beams, laid brickwork, and poured concrete structures. This underground bunker served as a literal shadow highway for a highly organized local theft and drug trafficking ring. The tunnel didn't just sit under one yard. It snaked outward through the darkness, physically tunneling beneath property lines to connect multiple adjacent houses, before finally opening up directly into a nearby arroyo, a dry concrete creek bed running along the edge of the neighborhood. The criminal operation was terrifyingly efficient. Thieves would steal high-value luggage, electronics, and vehicles from the surrounding suburban streets. Instead of running down the public sidewalk where police could spot them, they would drop into the arroyo, open a hidden hatch, and move the stolen contraband entirely underground into the backyard bunker. If police raided House A, the criminals would simply gather their drugs and stolen goods, walk through the underground tunnel, and emerge inside House B or vanish out into the dry creek bed miles away. It was a localized, subterranean fort operating right beneath the manicured lawns and swing sets of unsuspecting suburban families. A stark reminder that the ground beneath our feet can be hollowed out by anyone with a shovel, a sinister motive, and enough time. For our final act, we must descend into the most famous, and perhaps the most psychologically terrifying underground network in the world. The 600 miles of flood-controlled tunnels winding beneath the glittering casinos of Las Vegas, built to protect the multi-billion-dollar tourism hub of Sin City from sudden, catastrophic desert flash floods. These massive concrete channels are dry for most days of the year. In the dark, cool recesses of these channels, an entire shadow society has formed. Hundreds of unhoused individuals, addicts, and those escaping trauma have built makeshift homes out of salvaged casino carpets, milk crates, and discarded furniture. But as you wander deeper into the unmapped, pitch-black outer junctions of this network, the atmosphere shifts from a tragic community of survival into something far more dangerous. The moment you drop 7 floors beneath the desert earth into these concrete veins, the surface world ceases to exist. The sheer density of the reinforced concrete and earth acts as a total shield. Cellular service vanishes, GPS tracking loops indefinitely, and most chillingly of all, emergency police radios fail completely. This creates a literal, geographical, lawless dead zone. Because surface authorities cannot maintain radio communication, municipal police officers rarely, if ever, venture into the deepest, unmapped chambers of the Vegas tunnels. Out-of-sight outreach groups like the Shine a Light Foundation are often the only lifeline these spaces ever see. Without a police presence, justice deep underground becomes entirely tribal. If a vulnerable resident is assaulted, extorted, or robbed by localized gang factions or violent criminals who retreat into the deep tunnels, there is no phone to call. There is no siren that can reach them. If a crime occurs in the absolute darkness of the outer channels, it happens completely outside the fabric of American law. And then, there is the ever-present elemental dread. The entire existence of these tunnel residents is shaped by the terrifying psychology of the flash flood. A single rainstorm occurring 20 miles away in the desert mountains can send thousands of gallons of water rushing into these dry channels at speeds of 40 miles per hour. A tunnel can fill from floor to ceiling with freezing, debris-filled water in less than 10 minutes. To survive, residents must live like survivalist engineers. They drive heavy metal spikes and hooks directly into the concrete walls, using ropes and bicycle parts to hang their entire lives. Their beds, their clothes, their food, and their valuables, high above the water line. They sleep suspended in the pitch black, listening to the echoing drafts, knowing that at any second a wall of water could tear through the dark and erase everything they own, including their lives. The urban legends of mole people armies waging organized turf wars might be a product of imagination. But as we have seen, the reality is far more compelling and infinitely more unsettling. From the high-tech, multi-million-dollar smuggling arteries of international cartels to desperate rings shoveling through toxic sludge for forgotten gold, From neighborhood burglary rings digging shadow highways beneath suburban lawns, to the lawless, radio-silent concrete caverns of Las Vegas, the underworld is not a myth. It is a living, breathing, and expanding reality. The next time you walk down a quiet suburban sidewalk or stand above a humming manhole cover on a city street, take a second to look down. Remember that just a few inches of concrete are all that separate your world from theirs. Thank you for listening to this deep dive on creepy tailings. If this story sent a chill down your spine, please like, subscribe, and leave a comment below. What do you think is hiding under your city? Stay safe, stay curious, and keep your flashlights close. Good night.